morning, everybody. It's me and Eric Knight. Mayor Feelgood. So we are going to go ahead and make some things happen, but you guys have to stay tuned to go ahead and watch and see what we are going to talk about. But until then, let me go ahead and get this show started.
Welcome to the 863 Morning Show with your host, San Martin Rodriguez and Eric Knight.
Guys doing? It's me, San Martin of the Prescott Times, and we're over here at the PEO studios in Prescott, Arizona, and we didn't do our morning show this morning for a couple reasons. One, we are just going to go ahead and say it, and we want to give our condolences family. Eric Knight's father just passed away yesterday, so he wasn't able to join us today, but he wanted to be here in spirit to go ahead and talk to our mayor of Prescott, Arizona. So we just want to go ahead and share our condolences for the Knight family. And sorry about that, Eric. You're in our prayers, my friend. But I also wanted to go ahead and make a special vlog for our viewers that are out there, because we have somebody that's new on the council. Well, technically not new on the council, but new as a mayor on the council. And without further ado, tell everybody who you are and what makes you famous.
Well, I don't know about famous, but I'm certainly proud and excited to be able to lead the city of Prescott in its economic development, look at the challenges we have as far as growth and the consequences of a lot of that growth, whether it's providing public safety services to new residents and being able to kind of compensate for many more residents that are now visiting or residing here, and some of the challenges we have with traffic and how we manage our water portfolio and be able to use the water designation that we have to monitor the pace of growth and then make sure that we are able to provide the public safety services that every new resident and even visitors expect. So it's a challenge to do that. We've got really a number of very new council people that are now on the council, and the amount of information that they need to process so that they can really make quality decisions in policy. And those are all big things that we're dealing with, but it's a challenge and something I'm more than prepared to support the growth of the city.
This is the reason why men like him are in that position. So there's obviously a bunch of questions that a lot of people might have and want to have with you, and there's obviously a way to go ahead and get in touch with him, because it's like one of those things where he's not like untouchable. He's actually a really good person that we could actually bring him on the Prescott Times. So that's pretty awesome. So one of the things that was supposed to happen this past month was supposed to be the state of what do they call it, the state of the city. And I'm like, it is what it is. But you guys didn't have it because of illnesses, and fine, because you ended up still sending out a press release in regards to some of the things that is going to be happening and some of the things that are going to be in the future. As long as you're a mayor, you plan on doing a few things. I guess we could go ahead and tap into that and talk about it.
So annually, the Chamber of Commerce puts on a program where the mayor gives the state of the city, almost like the governor gives the state of the state address, and the president gives the state of the nation address. But unfortunately, due to a number of COVID illnesses, they had to reschedule that until March 1st. But I had already prepared all of the references to that, and we had submitted that to a number of publications so that not only people attending that event, but people that are reading the Courier or some of the other publications would also be able to have an understanding of where the city is, where it's going, and that was the intention of that meeting. So at least for the Chamber of Commerce, that meeting has been rescheduled to March 1st. So I'll do the presentation there, but now you know what I'll be talking about in advance.
And so everybody will actually know what's going to be chatted about.
Yeah.
So a couple of the things that you are stating here for the some good news, and we love good news around here, are you're talking about the Prescott business climate is robust. Now, can you capitalize off of what that means for the community?
Well, obviously our small business community is still struggling with expanding and finding hourly employees. But that's a reflection of the fact that our business environment here is quite strong. And we've been able to increase the amount of business-related revenue that comes into the city that allows us to be able to provide those necessary services. So we are seeing some substantial expansion of businesses. We're seeing substantial relocations, and we've announced finally that FedEx is in the process of building a 220,000 square foot distribution facility just south of the airport in that economic perimeter around there. So they're going to be operating 24/7 with initially about 80 new, pretty well-paid hourly wage jobs. Of course, we've already had about a little over a year since CP Technologies relocated from Southern California in the San Diego area, right north of the airport. Other business that is following CP that has already indicated that they intend to relocate here. They've already bought property and they're going through permitting and funding through the Small Business Association. Can't really release the name of it yet because they haven't finalized all of their plans, but it's well advanced. And there's another big technology company that's going to be by the airport. So that was one of my primary concerns during the campaign, is making sure that what I consider the primary economic driver of the area is our airport. And as long as we can maintain a perimeter and a buffer area around the airport itself, then we can attract a lot of these high-tech businesses. And with those businesses comes a substantial number of very, very well-paying jobs. So being able to attract young people that have these skills, that can locate here, raise a family here, I think gives us a much more exciting future than what historically has been made primarily a retirement community.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be funny, but we obviously have a rumor mill in Prescott, Arizona. So everybody knows that there's a rule that says no buildings bigger than 3 stories. I mean, some of the buildings downtown are like more than 3 stories, but whatever. We're not going to go ahead and just pull out the rule tape. So what kind of buildings are going to be built out there? Are we going to have sky rises, or are we going to keep the rule?
Extremely unlikely because of the FAA rules on how high buildings can be allowed within the close proximity of the airport. And let's face it, right now we are the 17th busiest airport in the entire United States.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine that?
That's pretty big.
And we're the 3rd biggest in Arizona. And with the growing number of operations at that airport, we'll be in the top 10 within 3 years.
Wow. That's
so
pretty huge.
It's not only commercial aircraft operations, it's not only general aviation, which are the private pilots, but the expanding pilot training program that comes from Embry-Riddle, because of the number of retiring pilots in the commercial area. They need these trained young pilots, and that program is one of the largest training programs in the United States. So all those things, I think, contribute not only to the viability of the airport itself, but also all those young well-trained pilots, and the College of Aviation that goes along with it brings in a lot of people that are training in cybersecurity, internet security, and we're trying to be able to create out there what's called the Center for the Future, to be able to bring some of these really bright young people who fall in love with this area, want to stay here, but where do they work?
Yep.
So a lot of this remote learning that can be done this is the place to do it. So we already have started an annex of startup companies right by the old City Hall, and they now have some access to larger spaces in the old post office that was acquired. So they can move there as they grow. And then as we build a Center for the Future right up by the airport, which will probably be 2 or 3 stories, they can scale up. And all along the way, we're supporting some really great companies and ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously we already nipped that in the butt. Okay, we're not going to get the sky risers. That's good.
No.
That's the only thing I was like really, really worried about. So there's a couple of other things that I know for a fact that you were tackling, and we talked with you prior than winning or winning the mayor's seat. We talked a little bit about some of your things that you want to go ahead and start, doing, and one of them was traffic control. I know that one of your campaigns, it was kind of crazy. You're like, you're sitting on the corner and you're just like, I don't know if you like this or not, but we need to fix this. And so let's talk a little bit about how do you plan on fixing the traffic scene, or even trying to get people to follow the rules?
Well, I actually had a local resident that came up to me about a week ago, said, we need to get a new bumper sticker. And I said, yeah, what's your idea? It'll say, welcome to Prescott, slow down and smile. Which I think is a great idea.
Yes, a big campaign.
So we'll see if we can do that. But that's a reflection of the growing number of residents and the growth overall. But we've got a lot of people that move here from other places, and sometimes they may not even realize that they've kind of been conditioned to be almost road warriors, and they have to try to get to where they're going as fast as possible. And this is just a small, friendly, courteous community.
Yeah, just get on the streets an hour before you have to be anywhere, and you'd be perfectly fine. Don't do it last minute.
You can even do 15 minutes. I mean, if you're trying to speed from the airport area down to the Prescott courthouse, the plaza area, you might save a couple of minutes. That'd make a difference. It really does.
No, I drive early in the morning. I don't see no traffic. I'm like, I don't know what Mayor Phil's talking about. I was like, this is perfect. And then all of a sudden, if I wait like 7:30, oh man, it's like, oh my gosh, Willow Creek Road is like awful. Eric actually just showed up right now, and he says, thanks, San Martin Rodriguez. Sorry, Mayor, I really wanted to be there. So missed you, Mayor Goode. So
condolences, Eric.
Yes, I mean,
so we need a couple. We need to manage that traffic more effectively. We need to really see our traffic challenges so we can come up with a comprehensive traffic plan. We need to start working on synchronizing lights so we can move traffic more efficiently. And then the third thing is to be able to enforce people who are really driving dangerously. So we've already taken a couple of steps. We've acquired some imaging technology that allows us to actually monitor the movement of vehicles, even bicycles, in those areas, so that we can then take that detection technology, connect it with lights, so that we can synchronize and make sure that the traffic moves efficiently. Nothing worse than getting a red light, sitting there, and nobody's even crossing, but you feel like you're ridiculous, but you got to sit there and wait.
Right there by Walgreens, it's just like one will turn red, and so will the other one, and everybody's like, what's going on here? And I think it's just because of the short span of that
Right.
little section right there, which I mean, I'm okay with it, but at the same time,
So
there's a lot of cool things out there.
The technology, I think that we've already acquired imaging for about 8 different signals coming down Willow Creek Road, and then connecting that with synchronizing the lights and how they change, I think will be an improvement. And I've also talked to the police chief. I said, I really want to see more consistent, visible enforcement. When we have people that are driving dangerously, quite frankly, I want to see them pulled over. I want to see them ticketed and let them know that this is not the place to be driving in such an aggressive way. And I want the other members of the traffic community that are driving by seeing that happen, so that they say to themselves, well, maybe I should slow down and drive a little more safely too, or that might be me next. So, historically, we've had saturation patrols when we get grants from the state. But a lot of times you'll see vehicles that are unmarked. I'd rather see the black and whites visible and just let people know, slow down. You're not going to save much time anyway. How many times have you seen somebody sweaving in and out, speeding up, and then by the
you
time
pull up right next to them?
they're right next to you with the signal.
all
They
the
haven't done
time,
anything, right?
all the time.
So
It's one of the. Okay, so born and raised in Prescott, Arizona, there was a thing that I knew for a fact that it only took me 7 minutes to get from Prescott, Arizona to Prescott Valley.
Right.
And I mean, even riding a bike from, I guess this side of the Gurley Street, like over there by Sam Hill Warehouse.
Yeah.
From there all the way to the back of the junior high, and I didn't even have to like stop for traffic. Like I didn't even have to look from both ways. I'm just like riding my bike down the alleyway, and that's how Prescott was. Now it's not like that. So unfortunately, it is what it is. Question: they did that little crosswalk downtown. Are you guys going to take that away, or do you guys like it?
Oh, the scramble?
Yes.
Well, quite frankly, I thought it was worth studying, because I've seen that in other places that I've lived and visited. In my 35-year career in healthcare, traveling all over the country, working in hospital systems, and even living in a number of big cities, I've seen that used in other places. So I thought it might be worth studying. And we did study it. We set it up temporarily, but I didn't really feel that it worked the way it was expected to. We never got the timing right.
No,
people still cross against the light. But unfortunately, I was outvoted on the council to make that permanent. So now it's permanent, and whether it continues to be that way, we'll just have to see. But
I mean,
some of it just doesn't
it's
seem to work.
cool, but on a busy day, Arizona, Prescott, Arizona, it just, I mean, because no matter what, it's going to be backed up from Montezuma to Gurley Street. It's just like a cluster. So me, because I know downtown Prescott, I know that whole intersection just because
and you have the problem too right there on Gurley Street between Cortez and Montezuma. And even a little farther down Gurley, we have limit lines for parking. And some of these really long bed pickup trucks that extend so far into the lane that you can't even get past.
No.
Consequently, you've just taken a 2-lane section and you've turned it into a 1-lane, which makes the congestion even worse. So I've been talking about our parking enforcement, because those extended trucks that's an inappropriate place to park. So we have the limit lines on there and the signs that says, if you don't fit, don't park.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't actually read that because they are just like,
well, once they get a parking ticket, maybe they will. Because you can turn right around there on South Cortez. There's no limits. So you might have to walk half a block.
Yeah.
But it makes transiting that section that more safe.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to get back into a little bit about what you are planning on doing, and you have Prescott has only a 2-year term limit, or is it 4 years?
2 years for mayor, 4 years for council.
Okay, and you are on how many years for council?
I was on full term, so I was 4 years on council, and prior to that, I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission. and was also the co-chairman of Mayor Ober Structured Sober Living Home. So we were able to really do a dramatic in all the proliferation of a lot of these sober homes that were showing up in every residential neighborhood in the city.
Mm-hmm. I hear that. And you're talking about residential and living in general. I mean, obviously our communities are like literally like there's no rentals. The rent is going. I was watching something this morning, and I know this is probably going to be a little bit far-fetched for a lot of people that like to invest into our community, but is there going to be a thing that will go ahead and say, hey, you know, there's going to be a limit, or are we going to allow it to keep on growing and growing and growing to a point where my brothers and my sisters and my aunties and uncles aren't able to live here anymore?
Right.
Because of the job scenario. I mean, you have to get 2 jobs in order for you to actually survive in Prescott, Arizona, in order for you to live here. So is there any way that we could go ahead and maybe quite possibly say, hey, listen, I know that you guys want to come and buy your second home or your Airbnb home. How do you navigate that? Or is there any way to even talk about that?
Well, in the Arizona Constitution, its growth is supposed to pay for growth. Unfortunately, when a Senate bill was passed about 8 years ago, it limited the ability of small communities to be able to put fees on growth. So, and that applied to, of course, the city of Prescott too. So how do you manage growth? I mean, growth is a reflection of an attractive community. As long as you're an attractive community, people are going to want to locate here or move here. So being able to honor the private property rights and development, along with the demand for people wanting to be able to move here, is quite a balancing act. So my feeling is that we can grow in a managed way so that the pace doesn't overwhelm our ability to provide services and be able to deal with traffic and be able to have a safe environment. But we are already limited by where we can grow. We've surrounded by state land. We've got national forest. We've got Prescott Valley's border right now, right to our east. And the only place that we can grow is really north. So that has an impact on the airport and also how fast growth can be managed. And because we are the only designated water provider by the Department of Water Resources, we're given the authority to be able to allocate water to different growth areas. And being able to manage that allocation will also manage the pace of growth. So quite frankly, the Deep Well Ranch development that was annexed years ago, the new Arizona Eco Development annexation will generate homes. And that's just a fact.
Mm-hmm.
Point, we grow north until we hit Chino Valley. So if we have Chino Valley to the north, we've got National Forest, we've got Prescott Valley to the east, we've got National Forest to the south. At some point in the future, we will hit a kind of a growth limit.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that translate into costs? Well, as long as there's demand and a limited supply of homes and apartments, you're going to see an escalation cost. But we can support some additional apartment development, but it doesn't have to be in these really, really high density, multi-level apartment developments. One of the things that I started advocating 4 or 5 years ago was doing more code enforcement within areas like the Dexter neighborhood, where it was pretty run down.
Mm-hmm.
And you see people with abandoned cars on their front lawns, and of course they didn't have lawns, but the front area of their house. So we started going in there enforcing some of our building codes, And as you started to see a little more upgrade of the community, we started to see people saying, I think I could invest in a 15 or 20 unit apartment building and be able to get a good return. And we started to see that, and we're still seeing that. Places over there off a hillside behind True Value, north of Miller Valley.
Yep.
And I think those are the types of developments that really make a lot of sense. They don't
It's
have
not
as high a
affordable housing,
price.
though.
They don't have as high a price.
Okay. I haven't
You
checked
compare
into
that to like Winfield at the Ranch and this new big development off of Miller Valley, the 2051 Lafferty development. Those are like multi-$1,000 apartments. But you don't see that same type of high rent demand in some of the areas that we're seeing in the smaller developments. So the market will adjust. But I think a lot of people that are moving into those high cost rental units are people that are waiting for a house to be made available out in the Deepwell Ranch area too. So you'll have some moderating conditions. We're starting to see an increase in interest rates, which will translate into higher mortgages. We're starting to see ongoing supply chain restrictions that are causing the components of a new home to be higher.
Mm-hmm.
They're having challenges with finding enough labor to build according to the demand. So as those things start creating some certain amount of restriction, then it'll slow the amount of growth as well.
So, I mean, obviously, I want to be a little bit of an advocate for the retirees.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that I hear on the streets is like some of the retirees can't afford to live here off their pension now. So, kind of like it's kind of like a new move to a different type of lifestyle. Back in the days, they said, "Oh, retirement community." But we're not seeing that right now. We're actually seeing an actual driving community, and then obviously bringing people here for jobs. It's going to kind of start evolving into a different type of like thought process. So we're not going to be on the top 10 Forbes magazine best place to retire anymore. I don't know. I think that our community is growing, but I see that it's going to be hard for a lot of people in order for them to stay here. Not to like kind of like bring a burden of bad news, but it's kind of rough, man, because this is my home, for me to be able like, oh my gosh, man, I got to be a millionaire in order for me to hang out here, which I could do that. Let's go ahead and make
with
it
the
happen.
Expanding success of the Prescott Times,
Yes, sir.
You might be able to handle that.
I know I am. I'm going to have to work really, really hard 24/7, even though I do probably work 24/7. I think I only sleep like 4 or 5 hours, and I'm up and at 'em.
Well, I'm a conservative, and I value the founding principles that our country was based on, and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But quite frankly, originally it was the value that Adam Smith and John Locke put on private property. So originally, the founding fathers, when they crafted their declaration, originally thought it was going to be life, liberty, and property. But they figured, there's not a whole lot of people actually own a lot of property. So let's change that to the pursuit of happiness, because everybody can agree with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we have to honor the value of private property, and at the same time, we have to be able to support good public services. But I don't think government should be stepping in and trying to control market forces. Market forces will adapt. Right now, we're going through a high demand area, and that causes a lot of the cost to go up. But markets will compensate. So we'll see a moderation of that growth as we see inflation tick up and mortgage rates go up. You're going to see a softening in demand, and as that softens, then prices will come down as well. I mean, think about it. When Saddlewood was first opened, that first section of the Deepwell Ranch, those homes were selling for $240,000 a year total cost, and that's only a couple of thousand a month. But because of demand, they're now over $350,000, and they haven't really changed much at all. If anything, they're even on smaller lots. So is demand moderating of cost too?
Yeah, we did we work with USA Realtors out in Prescott Valley, and he goes, "Let me show you our inventory." And then so he put it up on the MSLM or whatever it is, and only 365 homes available, or 600 or 365 homes available in our area right now only. And I'm like, what? And so he did a rundown on there. I never knew we had so many $1 million homes in Prescott, Arizona. He's like, oh, check this out, $1 million, $1 million, $4 million. I was like, what in the world? So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Prescott is worth that dollar amount. But at the same time, man, I don't want to pay that.
Well, I tell you.
I mean, it's a nice house. Don't get me wrong.
No, I was born and raised in California. I admit to it. And I went back to my 50th high school reunion a couple of years ago. And some of the people there were saying, really? You moved to Arizona? I said, rattlesnakes, desert, cactus. It's the worst decision I ever made. I don't even think about coming here.
He's gonna make a joke out of it and say, nah, you don't want to go there. It's too dry. You're gonna have to pile on the whole lotion. Some of my friends that come from Hawaii, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm scaly like a dead fish, and I'm like, oh, just put some lotion on, you'll be just fine. All right, we're getting to the end of the nitty gritty, and I know that we're going to be getting the state of city address, but we actually put it out on the PrescottTimes.com. So if you guys haven't seen that, let me go ahead and put this on the screen real quick so you guys know where to find it. And there is some comments right here that says, welcome, Mayor. I voted good. Like, it was actually a fun little statement right there. And then she says, I think it's Paulette Turam. Yeah, for you, San Martin. Slow growth, no traffic, no more. Keep Prescott a hometown. And I think that if we conscientiously, keep on trying to put out good, good vibes off of our media in general, I think that we could go ahead and accomplish that and educate anybody that's new out there on how to live in Prescott, Arizona. Slow down. I mean, you came here for a reason, to get out of the hustle and bustle and enjoy the clean air. Will Prescott ever adopt, what do you call that, emissions?
Emissions?
Like Phoenix does?
I don't anticipate that. I mean, we've always been recognized as one of the cleanest air areas. The only time we really have challenges sometime is when we're doing controlled burns to try to reduce the fuel load in some of the forest areas that are nearby. And
you do that during the wintertime, because it's probably the best time.
And it's necessary. Otherwise, we put ourselves at a wildfire risk.
So to end the whole show, what do you want to go ahead and tell the community?
Well, I just want to thank everyone for the overwhelming support during my campaign. I ran on several issues, more public transparency, and we've already adopted that on the city council by having a call to the public so people can come and address the council on concerns that they might have. I got rid of that intimidating light bar that they used to have to look at, and it's turning yellow, it's turning red, and then you get your microphone cut off. So we'll listen to good ideas. I said we're going to try to protect the airport as much as possible and develop the area around there. I think we're succeeding in that. I said we're going to be able to use our water policy to be able to moderate growth, and that we would deal with public safety. So I'm proposing that we add a couple of fire stations and make sure that the developers actually give us a quality location where we can build the fire stations so that people have medical emergencies or fire emergencies will be able to get a response time. We'll probably add some additional firefighters and police officers, because as we grow, we're going to need to grow those public safety services.
Yes.
So all of those things I think are coming forward, and I'm intending to follow through with the promises I made in the campaign, and people can rely on that.
Do you have a checklist on where you could be like, check, I told you I'll do that, check?
I do. And we're checking them off.
And we're going to be a part of that every step of the way. We appreciate you and everything that you have done for our community thus far. And I really do appreciate you even coming to the show this morning.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm one of those rare I guess you have to call me a politician now. But, you know, if I make a promise, I'm going to keep it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
In most cases, that's a gentleman honor right there. You have to do what you say you're going to do. If not, you're just one of those guys that be like, I call them fly-by-nighters. They come in, they want to go ahead and razzle and dazzle, and all of a sudden, because everybody acknowledges who in the heck they are, they fizzle out. So they fly in and fly out by night.
That's when they don't have principles, and they are changing their policies based upon which way the wind is blowing. And I have some solid principles, and I'll back that up with a belief and unwavering support of the Constitution and the principles there. So thank you for being here.
Yes,
thank you for having me here.
Yes, well, thank you
for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for your services. And if you guys want to see a little bit more of what this man is all about, just look in the description. Did you guys know that he was on a TV show called Jeopardy and also Tic-Tac-Dough?
Yeah.
I loved it. I went back to go look for it, but I couldn't find him because some guy just took over the whole internet by winning it 24 times. You know? Who is that guy? But needless to say, thank you guys for joining us, and thank you guys for being a part of the Prescott Times morning show. And if you guys want to find out more information, please go to the PrescottTimes.com, because we have a new calendar that is going to be covering all the events that's happening in Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and abroad, and all of Yavapai County. With that being said, check out our partners that keep this information to you for free and keeps me and these beautiful lights up and running. We'll see you guys later. Peace, love, and happiness. Let it not be war.
Bye-bye.
And remember, love always wins. See you guys later.